I lived in Tuskegee from 1942 when I got married until 1960. By then my husband, but the war had ended, my husband had come back, and because of some of the trauma, I guess, that he experienced in the war, he had some difficulties. So he had gone, he had come back, and he was working in the insurance company that he was working in when he first, I guess, was working when we got married. Well, actually he was in the Air Force, but he had left that company to join the Air Force. So he went back to that company, but because of whatever happened during the war and his tour of duty overseas, he had left that company, and he had gone to Philadelphia. And so we had come to sort of a parting of the ways. And I was in Tuskegee with my 3 little children, and I got my master's degree. And I was working full-time, going to school, and at Christmas time working in the post office. So when I got my master's degree in education in Tuskegee, in 1960, I decided that I was going to take a vacation. It's the first time I'd had time off, winter or summer, and decided I was going to drive to California to see my 2 sisters who lived in Oakland and Berkeley and Los Angeles. One in Los Angeles, one in Los Angeles, one in Berkeley. So I told my sisters that we're going to take our time. If my children want to see a blade of grass on the side of the road, we're going to stop. So look for us when we get there. And that's what happened. And when I got to Los Angeles, my sister said, why don't you stay here? You can get a job teaching here. Because by then I had gotten a job in the Tuskegee High School. And then when I didn't take her up on that, and I went to Berkeley where my oldest sister lived. And a person that they knew, who was the only black on the Board of Education, came by to visit them that night, coincidentally. And he said, I've just come from board meeting, and I know of 2 people in your field who have either resigned or moved out of the Oakland school system. So why don't you go down and apply? And I did just that and got the job so fast, I didn't even have time to think about it. My oldest son, who was a senior was in school at St. Emma Military Academy in Virginia, I had to send him back to Tuskegee by plane, have my mother pack him up, and send him back to St. Emma for the rest of his school year. And I stayed in Oakland and worked I think it was the largest junior high school. And I was the 3rd black teacher out of 60 teachers in this predominantly white junior high school. And I stayed there working until the NDEA Act was passed, training teachers to identify gifted students, because by then Russia had sent Sputnik up and the United States was challenged. They thought that they needed to compete and needed to train their science to identify the gifted students. So they passed the NDEA Act, which trained teachers in science and math and counselors to identify the gifted students who could compete with Russia, I guess. Well, while I was in California, though, because you got paid on the basis of the number of graduate hours that you had beyond your baccalaureate degree, you moved up on the salary scale. So I was taking courses, extension courses at the University of California, San Francisco State, at Cal State Hayward. And by the time I finished, I had gone from the I never was on the bachelor's level, on step 1, because I went out there with a master's. 2 masters, in fact, but I had enough hours to move to the PhD equivalency level. So the only thing that the advancement in salary then depended on your number of years of experience.
Now, during the time of the NDEA, you were interviewed by the Oakland Tribune. Was that
yes.
What kind of response did you get after your...
When somebody interviewed me and I explained that I was interested in learning and wanting to be a counselor so that I could identify students with the kind of, or help students to identify where their skills were and where their interests were, so that they could pursue training and become proficient in whatever it was that they were interested in, so that they could be anything that they wanted to be. So that article appeared in the paper, and I got some of the most interesting letters from people who said that they used the N-word, were not supposed to be, anything more than at the lowly level, that God, and they would even quote passages from the Bible saying that blacks were not supposed to be anything more than at the lowest level. I wish I'd kept those letters, but I didn't, and they were really some very not nice letters.